Hello, now today I'm going to tell you how to get the most out of a track day in your MX5, whether that's a Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3 or Mark 4. Any MX5 is a fun car to take on track, and hopefully I can offer you a few tips on how to make the most of it. Now, don't let anyone tell you that an MX5 isn't fast or powerful enough to take onto a circuit, because at a track like Oulton Park here and many other British tracks, it really is more about handling than outright power. And although you'll see lots of faster, more exotic, more expensive cars in the paddock, an MX5 really is huge fun on a circuit in standard or modified form. So you'll have a great day out, you'll learn a lot about your driving, you'll learn a lot about your car, and hopefully you want to come back and do it again. Now, first thing to concentrate on is the engine, and really it's quite simple. So long as you've checked the oil, checked the level of the coolant, everything's fresh, serviced, up to date, you really are good to go. And you don't need to fixate on whether you should have a turbo or an upgrade or anything like that, because as I say, standard power really is plenty in one of these cars, because really we're looking at the handling. And that brings me on to some of the areas you might want to consider modifying, and I'll talk you through now. Okay, so your engine is in tip-top condition, you've checked your oil, your coolant and all those fluids, and everything is good to go. What modifications might you want to consider, and what might you need to look at a couple of weeks before the track day, before you have the car ready to go out on the circuit? Well, I've jacked the car up and taken the wheel off just to show you a few bits and bobs that you might want to consider before hitting the MX5 parts shop and maybe ordering a few bits before your track day. Now then, what about suspension? This is obviously one area of modification a lot of people like to do before taking a car on track, and it's one you can explore in many, many different ways. The most important thing to say about suspension would be to just do it in small steps. The temptation might be there to go and spend a fortune on a fancy set of coilovers, lower the car to the floor, make it really stiff, but really with suspension, just go step by step and try different things out, talk to people and find out what's best for you, because everyone's different, everyone's got different tastes and different needs. First step I would recommend would be a set of lowering springs, and this applies to whether you're going to be using your car on the road or the track, to be honest, because although standard MX5s handle really well, they all tend to ride a little bit high, so they're a bit tiptoey in the corners, they can feel a bit roly-poly when you're in the turns at speed. So a set of lowering springs is a relatively affordable start to your suspension tuning journey, and we have them for Mark 1, 2, 3 and 4, all the different generations, so have a look and choose what is the best option for your particular needs. Now in my particular car, I have upgraded the suspension. I've got the Koni Sport kit. That is, to me, a nice kind of middle ground between a track and road package, because this is a car I like to drive on the road as well as the track. So really I want something that can kind of cater to both. And the Koni package to me seems like a nice middle ground. It's got some adjustments on the top of the dampers so you can stiffen them up for a track day like this if you want to. But to be honest, they work just as well in their standard setup. I really like them. But as I say, chat to people, figure out what is the best for you. Brakes. Now then, obviously on a circuit, as I was saying, horsepower is less important than brakes. So maybe a couple of weeks before your track day, have a really good look at the condition of the brakes on your car, because you may want to be ordering some parts and fitting them to get it all bang on before the day. Obviously check your brake fluid, make sure that's been changed recently and it's all at the correct level. But maybe take the wheels off the car and have a look at the condition of the discs and pads, because they're going to be taking a bit of a beating on track and you want to make sure they're in tip-top condition. Now when it comes to ordering brakes, and again this applies to all marques, not just Mark 1s like the one we have here, you have a series of options, and MX5 Parts offers complete packages which are a good value way to just update the whole system and make sure it's absolutely tip-top. Now then, you've got a variety of options really. So here I've got the kind of pattern part and standard pads. That's a really, really affordable way to do the whole car, all four corners if you're not sure when they were last changed. Maybe the discs are looking a bit rusty, maybe the pads are looking a bit thin. And if you just want to just refresh the whole system, that's a really affordable way to do it. Here we have the factory Mazda parts. So this is the original equipment, Mazda disc and pads. That's what I've got on my car, and to be honest, they work really, really well. I've not had any issues. I've driven the car on track and on the road extensively. To me, the standard setup seems absolutely fine for what I do. Obviously, my car's not got an upgraded engine or anything like that, so the standard brakes are fine for that. If, however, you're going to be pushing a little bit harder, maybe your car's been tuned up, maybe you want to go out all day, you might want to consider the Ultimate Sports package of brakes, which includes these fancy EBC rotors with drilled surfaces and grooved surfaces here to help with the cooling and keep the brakes nice at their optimum temperature. This also comes with green stuff pads, which are an upgraded track day pad, which again just have a bit more bite and staying power if you're really pushing hard. The Ultimate Sports package also comes with braided brake lines, which for me is a worthwhile upgrade on any MX5, whether you're driving it on the road or the track, because it just gives you a really nice solid brake pedal. Now it's a bit more faff because you obviously have to bleed the system and put new brake fluid in, but if you're doing the whole system, it's a really worthwhile upgrade because it just gives you really great feel through the pedal, particularly in a car like this one without ABS, when you want to be kind of braking up to the very limit of what the tyres can handle. Which brings me to the final topic, wheels and tyres. Now then, again, everyone's got their own opinions about this, and it totally depends on your particular requirements for what you're going to be doing. You can, of course, put bigger wheels on with sticky track day tyres if that's your thing. Personally, I've gone for the standard 14-inch Daisy wheel and a Dunlop Eco tyre. Now, that means the car doesn't have so much grip, it moves a little round a little bit in the corners, but personally I find that more fun because it teaches me a bit more about the car's limits at a kind of an approachable speed, and it's just more fun. And if you're not going for lap times or anything like that, that seems to me like a nice compromise. There are, of course, endless options in terms of bigger, wider wheels, stickier tyres, all that kind of thing. All I would say is have a think about what you want to get out of your car and out of your track day and choose accordingly. So now we've looked at the modifications, let's get the car ready and go out on track. Okay, so we are sorted with our engine. I've told you a little bit about some of the modifications you may want to make, some of the parts you might want to buy before doing your track day. We're here at the circuit. What are the final checks we need to do before we head out onto the track? Well, first of all, we need to go to the briefing and get our wristbands to tell the marshals that we're all qualified and bona fide. Don't forget to bring your driving licence because most track day organisers will want to see that when you sign up. Before you go out on track for the first time, there are a few little bits and bobs you will want to just make sure of. Starting at the front, now Mark 1s and 2s, the towing eye is here in the grille, so you don't need to worry about that, but if you've got a Mark 3 or 4, you'll need to screw in the towing eye from the spare wheel package just in case you get stuck in the gravel and they need to pull you out. Hopefully that won't happen, but it's better that than them having ripped the front bumper off the car trying to pull it out. Turning to the wheels, take your valve caps off, and using a tyre pressure gauge, just take a reading of the tyre pressures all the way around the car. Make sure they're all consistent, make a note of what they are, because as you go out on the circuit, the tyres warm up, the pressures build up, and after your first session you'll probably want to come in and just drop them back to what they were before, just to make sure that the tyres are at an optimum temperature so that they don't wear excessively during the day. So just keep a tabs on that. Pressure gauge and then a pump to pump them back up at the end of the day as well is really handy. You need to go and get your car noise tested. So if your car's got a really noisy exhaust, you might want to think about buying a standard exhaust, or if you've still got your original one, bolting it on before the track day. Most track days are very strictly enforced and they just won't let you run if you're too noisy. So if you've got a very noisy car, just bear that in mind. Helmet, of course you're going to need a helmet. Because MX5s are open cars, most track day organisers will want you to wear a full face on a track day, especially if you've got the roof down. You need your arms and legs covered as well, so no shorts and t-shirts. And then I think probably the most important thing to do before you go out on track in your car is to clear everything out of it, and I mean everything. Take everything out of the boot, take the spare wheel out, go through the centre cubby, go through the glove box, check behind the seats, check under the seats, and just get any loose change, portable navigation units, anything in the car. Just take it out, put it in a box, store it in the corner of a pit garage or something like that, because it's really distracting when you're going around the track and you can hear that locking wheel nut or loose change or your phone rattling around in the cubby. It's really distracting. It can also be dangerous because there can be things like a drinks bottle under the seat that you didn't know about, and you come braking for a corner and it shoots out and gets stuck under the brake pedal. Stuff that you really don't want to happen. So can't emphasize that enough. Clear everything out of the car and put it somewhere safe. Finally, if you want to be filming your day, make sure that you've got a proper physical attachment for the camera to the car. Track day organisers don't like suction mounts because they're just not safe. And also, if you're going around with a passenger, make sure that they're not filming you using their phone or with a handheld camera or something like that, because you'll probably get black flagged and called in for ticking off. So if you do want to film it, make sure your camera is properly physically mounted to the car. I'm very lucky mine's got that harness bar and it's the perfect place to mount the camera securely. So I think we're all set. Let's get out there. Right, okay, so here we are on track round Alton Park in a Mark 1 MX5. What should you be thinking about the first time you head out onto a circuit in your car? Well, a few things to bear in mind. If you've not been on track before, we've been through the kind of technical modifications you can make to your car, but we need to think about the driver as well. So one of the most important things you can do, one of the best investments, is to get some tuition. So if you're new to the circuit, if you're new to track driving, go out with an instructor, book some time early on in the day, and the insight you'll get from having some qualified instruction will just make all the difference. That makes a much bigger difference to your driving your car than any kind of power upgrade or suspension things you could do. So really, I can't emphasize enough, get some instruction, because you'll get so much more out of the rest of the day that way. So you've had some instruction, you're on your first session. What do you do? Well, first trick is to build up slowly. Don't try and break any lap records in the first session, because it's not going to work. You've got all day, so work up, get a feel for the track, have a sense of what your car's going to do, and just go steady. Get your eye in, warm up your brain, warm up the car, warm up the brakes, get everything ticking along nicely, and then you can start to enjoy yourself. But that's the important thing, really, because remember, this is just a road car, so it doesn't have the stamina of a proper race car, and you're not here to race, you're just here to have fun and kind of push your limits a little bit. So take your time, enjoy it. Are there any kind of general kind of track etiquette tips that I can pass on beyond the kind of track instruction that you get? Well, yes, there are. I said that MX5s are good fun on a circuit, and they are, and that the lack of power isn't necessarily a problem, which it isn't, but there will be faster cars out there. So a good trick is you'll be concentrating in the corners, and rightly so, but every time you get to a straight, just check the mirror and see if there's anything there, because if there's a car there that wasn't there before, and it doesn't matter whether it's a Ferrari 599 or a Fiat 500, he's going faster than you. So according to the instructions you got in the briefing, just let him through. He can carry on his day, you can carry on yours. The other thing is, don't stay out for too long either, because it's better to do lots of kind of short sessions than try and stay out for hours and hours at the same time, because you'll just cook your brakes, cook your engine, ruin your tyres. So much better to just have lots of short sessions. Come in, have a break, have a drink, let yourself cool down, let the car cool down, and then go out again. Now, between sessions, I mentioned about tyre pressures before, so after your first session, come in and check your tyre pressures, and you'll find that they'll probably be 10 psi maybe over what they should be. So just drop them back to the cold pressures that you started with, and then your tyres will be at the correct pressure once you're back out on track. But just remember, the next time you go out, the tyres will be cold at the start of the session, and you'll need a couple of laps to kind of get some temperature back into them. So bear that in mind, and then by the middle of the day, it should be going good. What else can I tell you? Well, as I say, pace yourself, take your time. My tip would be stick around until the end of the day, because usually by kind of mid-afternoon, all the thrill seekers have either run out of fuel or tyres or talent, and you'll quite often find that by kind of mid-afternoon, you've got the track totally to yourself. And that's a really nice time to be driving, and I always like to see the checkered flag at the end of a track day. I I like to think I got my money's worth then, so I've seen it through to the end. And that's it really. I mean, you've got now some technical tips on how to get your car set up, some idea of some of the bits you might need to buy, might need to change. Hopefully I've given you some advice onto how to actually drive the day, how to enjoy yourself a bit. I think that's probably as much as I can tell you for now. I'm going to just crack on and enjoy myself.